to cover, to uncover, and apparently our government is out there just trying to discover certain things. And I just have to tell you what's going on in this world right now, the best way that I can make you understand this. We're essentially the Muggles. For those of us who read Harry Potter, maybe those of us who were dweebing it like me and read it a few times in the story of Harry Potter, we're the Muggles. There's this entire world of witchcraft and wizardry, spiritual darkness and spiritual light that's happening. People that are practicing literally Babylonian magic. And they intentionally rendered us as the Muggles, the people who are not aware that it's going on at all. That all seems so ridiculous. That can't be true. And I think that began, by the way, transforming us into idiots. It began in America, when they removed the Bible out of the classroom. It used to be taught at public schools, the Bible, so that you knew your history. And then kind of Hollywood rose, and they sort of make fun of people that go to church. They've also, people that do go to church are having the word perverted in some ways, as we've covered extensively on this show. They made us think, essentially, that the Bible was a fairy tale, effectively blinding us all to the fact that it is very real. All of it is real. Angels, demons. Today's just going to be one of those WTF episodes when I share with you the true story of what the heck we were doing in Iraq. We're Iraq. Let's go back. Let's go backward. Let's recap the Muggle edition of what we were told, okay? The Muggle edition goes like this. On September 11th, 2001, some super de-duper evil Muslims, known to most of us now as Israelis, hijacked some planes and drove them into the Pentagon, flew them into the Pentagon building, also the Twin Towers, and then Building 7 kind of got really emotional seeing his friends get hit and went ahead and just collapsed itself, right? By the way, I should mention that over at the Pentagon, that plane was also very unique. It apparently had no wings when it just dove into the Pentagon. Some people said they heard a missile, but we won't ask questions. We're not here to debate those conspiracies. We were told that this was executed by the Saudis. They had hijacked the plane. How did we know? Well, because one of them was kind enough as to conveniently drop off his passport on the sidewalk to make sure that we knew that it was them that was getting away with these super duper evil crimes. I'll remind you of that video very quickly about the passport being found.
Donna, when these buildings came crashing down on Tuesday, they sent debris showering in several blocks in every direction. And it was in one of those areas a couple of blocks away from the World Trade Center site, apparently where that passport was found. The FBI announcing that it has found the passport of one of the hijackers who was on board one of those two planes that hit the Twin Towers on Tuesday morning.
I mean, I was young, but for those of you that were not young and were grown adults, did you just accept that? I was a kid. That's my excuse, okay? I was in middle school. But for those of you that were not in middle school, did you just accept this? Those of you that had families, did you go watch the news and go, no, that makes sense. Yeah, the debris just we could not even find human remains, but the debris just fell and unfortunately flew away out the window. He just threw his passport. I have so many questions about that. But again, we're not here to relitigate 9/11. We know how we felt. We all gathered around those super bulky big screen TVs, and we were perhaps expecting that as a result of this, we may indeed have to go to war with Saudi Arabia. That's what makes sense, because they dropped the passports off for us to find and the debris. But that actually didn't happen. Oddly, we were told a couple of years later that we had to go to war with Iraq very quickly. Now, yesterday, I mentioned to you all the Epic of Gilgamesh, of Uruk, understood to be actually the story of Nimrod in the Bible. He was a warrior who rebelled against God, Nimrod, and established his own kingdom in Mesopotamia and in Assyria. I'm showing you this map of that region so you can see where exactly we're speaking about. Kind of feels like where we're doing a lot of stuff right now, actually. Lebanon, Syria, and now we're talking about going into Iran. Well, I got an email yesterday from one of you, and I have to read it to you because I went, no way. I also got some other emails, but this one I'm going to read to you. Dear Candace, I never email people, but I watched your show today and felt led to send you this email you mentioned in your show about the Clintons wanting to find Gilgamesh's tomb. You need to look up the research that was done by Rob Skiba. They did find Gilgamesh, aka Nimrod. He was a giant. He was very well intact. Yes, we invaded just after he was found. The first place that we went during that war and set up a base was a museum. Not just any museum, the museum that held all of the relics for that. It also held all of the cuneiform tablets from Babylon and Gilgamesh and or Nimrod's tomb. They said that the museum was, quote, raided, and that they, the military, retrieved everything except for the tablets that had to do with reincarnating and bringing back the Nephilim, fallen angels, noted in Genesis 6. The Bible speaks of this. This is not a fantasy. This is a fact. They have to have Nimrod to bring the Antichrist forth. Please go watch Babylon Rising by Rob Skiba or read the book or his other work on this. He has done many videos and books and backs his work up and uses scripture too. He's not the only one that knows this and had vetted these things out. I pray, if you didn't already know this, that it helps you continue on your quest for truth. Now, that term Babylon Rising instantly flagged to me as interesting because as I've been speaking to you about what the elite practice and telling you that this goes back to the Sumerian tablets, Project Looking Glass. They freaked out when I discussed that. This idea of these occultists, Babylon Rising, the names of their books, this Babylonian magic, it's a theme that just keeps cropping up, whether you're referring to Aleister Crowley or Jack Parsons. So I went, wait a second. Because we never really did get an answer for what we were doing in Iraq, you know. The email happens to check out. Surely enough, back in 2002, a group of German geophysicists began making trips into modern-day Iraq to map out what they believed they had discovered, which was ancient Iraq that aligned with the ancient texts of Gilgamesh. I'm going to show you this headline because I honestly, this is like unbelievable. Two German geophysicists, one named Georg Fassbinder and Helmut Becker, they were working for the Bavarian State Conservation Office in Munich, and they began using magnetic mapping to discover the old city. And suddenly they go, wait a second, this is his tomb. When exactly did they find it? We know for sure that it was sometime between May 2002 and very early 2003, they became convinced that indeed they had found the actual tomb of Gilgamesh, also, like I said, known as Nimrod in the Bible. This is within the exact timeline that we make a decision to invade Iraq. It's going to get even more insane. So it's February 5th, 2003. Colin Powell publicly states, rather notoriously now infamously states, that Iraq possessed weapons of mass destruction. He's holding up the anthrax. He's addressing the United Nations Security Council, okay? Then, that quickly, next month on March 20th, 2003, we invade Iraq. The public is informed a couple of weeks thereafter, the BBC, so state arm, that Fassbinder indeed had made the discovery of Gilgamesh's tomb. And conveniently, well, guess what our boys did? They were there. They happened to make their military base at that exact location. Like, this is just incredible. Colin Powell publicly states there's weapons of mass destruction during his address, and then bam, there we are on top of Babylon. Well, what exactly were we doing there? Other than, you know, the obligatory mass murdering, plundering ancient Christian civilizations and structures, a million Iraqi civilians that were killed. That's a given. We just are always destroying Christian relics, but because we have to destroy history, they have to destroy history. But in retrospect, I have to say that I gotta stand for my boy Colin Powell looking into this, because I think he told the truth that they were indeed searching for weapons of mass destruction, but of a spiritual caliber, mass spiritual destruction. It is absolutely not a conspiracy. You can look us up yourself, that we, like I told you, set up our military base, Camp Alpha, right on top of ancient Babylon. Our boys then began digging. They said that the reason that they chose this place was because they wanted to protect the site from looters. Except, I guess, the military guys got confused at the top. They accidentally started doing the looting. The instructions just weren't clear over there. This is actually a United Nations article published in 2009 when we had to confess our sins before the world. It reads in part, quote, Babylon was the capital city for two famous kings of antiquity, Hammurabi, who introduced one of the world's first law codes, and of course, Nebuchadnezzar. Partially excavated over the last century, much of ancient Babylon, which lies 90 kilometers south of Baghdad, remains undiscovered. Now, according to a 2005 British Museum report, the use of Babylon as a camp by a multinational force between April 2003 and December of 2004, by coalition forces is, quote, tantamount to establishing a military camp around the Great Pyramid in Egypt or the Stonehenge in Britain. Tells us later that Babylon was indeed plundered during the 2003 war, when contents from Hammurabi and Nebuchadnezzar museums and from the Babylon Library and Archive were stolen and destroyed. Oh, well, did we just go to war because we wanted to go on an archaeological dig? And we actually weren't allowed to do that because it was discovered and it belonged to people in Iraq. So they were like, weapons of mass destruction. We're going to need to go there and set up camp and do some digging. Sure enough, that's what the local said they did. And they just transported things out of there. This is from NBC News. It tells us that a senior U.S. military officer has said that he's willing to apologize for damage that his troops caused in one of Iraq's most famous ancient sites. The British Broadcasting Corp reported Friday that after the 2003 invasion of Iraq, U.S. Marines built a helicopter pad on the ruins of Babylon and filled their sandbags with archaeological fragments from the ancient city. It said vibrations from the U.S. helicopters caused the roof of one of the buildings to collapse. We were not there to protect ancient ruins. We were there to plunder and to loot and to steal. Right after we discover that Gilgamesh's tomb is in this city. Locals reported that at night, Americans were digging and they were extracting in military operations. But to where? That's the question. Where did they take Nimrod's remains? Why do they want them? What do you guys think they're trying to do with Nimrod's body? Time for you guys to wake up. Really wake up and to understand that many of us are kind of coming out of a fog. Certainly me. Never forget who Nimrod was in the Bible, right? Nimrod was the original one world government guy seeking to unite humanity under the Tower of Babel, one system created in defiance of the creator. One world government. This is why the mystery cults, they revere Nimrod. Freemasons revere Nimrod. In Masonic tradition, Nimrod is considered to be the first grand master, even before Solomon. I was telling you about that. This is all very real. It should shock you. We probably like, was I a bug? Yes, absolutely. And so people then dug up, and this got a bit confused, by the way. So I should clarify that there was this still never quite explained FOIA request that went through to the State Department requesting documents pertaining to the resurrection chamber of Gilgamesh, the location of his body and the location of the buried Nephilim. Who are we talking about? Who are we speaking about when we refer to these people, the fallen angels? Guys, I am telling you, and this is not a part of Catholic canon, but you are allowed to read it, and you should read it. I read it on a plane. I don't even know what was going through my mind where I decided I needed to read the Book of Enoch. I think it is so important to read the Book of Enoch, okay? To read about the fallen angels. That this is your real history. I'm sorry to tell you guys, you're not a dinosaur. Okay, you weren't a dinosaur. You're not just like floating. Thank you, Katy Perry, but you're not like a plastic bag floating through the wind. I didn't really ever find that line to be relatable at all. I've never felt that way. This is all very real, and the elites have held on to this. They destroy history because they don't want you to know this. They envision a world like Nimrod. One world government, they are going to be the gods. You will have no sense of where you come from. You will have no sense of your history, and your souls will be completely perverted and corrupted by them. That is what they are doing. So people always ask why I'm always so happy and so positive. How is it possible that the Epstein files can drop and I maintain a happy attitude? in the comments yesterday, I saw this of like, well, what do we do? What do we do? Now that we know this is real and they're practicing this. Well, you have to also consider the other thing. They're doing this because God is real. That I feel like that's like the best message ever. How could you not be happy recognizing that they are just betting against God like they always do? These people want to recreate Babylon. Okay, this is the story of Hollywood, Babylon, read the books. They have always been obsessed with this, but who are they contending with? God. And I feel like many people, myself included, go through a period where you wonder, and that's intentional, of course, like I said, because they've stripped our true history and we're not even where we're supposed to be. Like, we're in America. How did we get here? We know nothing about ourselves. And you go through this period where you question whether or not God's real. And I certainly thought, no. Well, coming out of high school, that's just like my grandparents were into that. That's the old world. We're the cool world. And then you get to an age and you get to a point where you recognize, oh yeah, God's definitely real. And we've been asleep. We've been the muggles. They know he's real. And you want to spell the end of this satanic reign, everything that they have been doing and the blood that they have been shedding. It's our awakening. It's our awareness. So you should be happy. You should be encouraged. This stuff shouldn't scare you. You should be happy to know that this isn't it. And the reason why they want people to be selfish, the reason why they want us to be atheist, why they have been so intentional about making sure they fill us with nonsense and junk and no sense of true history, why they protect the field of archaeology. They don't ever want us to be the ones to find something and learn something about history that's real. The reason that they're doing all that is because then they can get you to trade your soul. Like if you really believe that all you had was 80 years and there was nothing else beyond this, like they want you to believe, then you would sell your soul to the devil for money. That's what a lot of people are doing. But when you suddenly go, oh wait, there's more. Actually, I'm a soul and I am an eternal soul. Then you go, okay, well, I'm not going to do a deal for $7,000 to support murdering children in Gaza. It's a happy message, I'm telling you guys. But read the Book of Enoch if you have not read it and learn about the fallen angels. It is incredible. Learn about your true history. Anyways, I wanted to share that with you because I was just, I can't believe that about Iraq. People asking, what's the obsession with Iran? What's suddenly the obsession with Greenland? I think a lot bigger. I don't know what the obsession is, but I'm inclined to think a lot bigger. We'll take a brief break before I tell you about some alibis that I think are maybe falling apart regarding September 10th.